Welcome to Tanya Inside Out G4 Tough Shinpei Vav. So we finished chapter 31, if you remember last week. We're into chapter 32. We're doing it 32? Yeah, a lot of people say that. So they call it the heart, because it's Lamed based, the heart of Tanya, and the main message. I personally think the heart of Tanya is Perek Kaf Zayin, because if you see, it's 53 chapters. Yeah, so there's like 26, and then like the middle chapter is 27. So that's but I actually do feel, because 27 teaches you about the avoid of the Beinoni. Chapter 32 is like basically everyone's favourite chapter. That's just Yedua. Why?
I mentioned in my wedding.
Oh, very good. Yeah. So it's about the mitzvah of Ahavas Yisrael, and it's kind of, if you get the flow of the Tanya, if you get like the structure of the Tanya, it makes sense that it's here, but at the same time, it doesn't really. It's kind of tangential, yeah. But it does. It kind of is like he's going in this derech, and then at this point, it makes sense to discuss Ahavas Yisrael. But then after that, he kind of goes back onto the. So it's tangential, yeah. But it's okay. So I'm going to tell you, I had a phone call a couple of months ago, a friend of mine, who's having real trouble with one of his boys. Yeah, he's about 15 years old. Yeah. And he's all concerned, because this boy, in his own words, is like, he said, I love all my kids, but he's like my favourite. Yeah. So that's an interesting. If you have kids, there are certain kids that you resonate with more and others that you resonate with less, whatever. You introduced this kid as his favourite. He said he's like, he's really like me. He's really clever. He's got a great sense of humour. He's a good guy, and he just said very good shayach about him. And so I listened, and he started explaining to me the issues that they're having, and so I gave my diagnosis, which was, I bet you he feels like you really don't like him. So what are you talking about? So I said, see, the problem with a favourite child is that why would you favour child X over child Y? Why would you, I'm going to use names not of my children, why would you prefer, I've got so many kids, it's like, why would you prefer Naphtali over Tzvi? What would be the reason why he would be your favourite? Why would Naphtali be your favourite and Tzvi not be your favourite? What could be the reason?
There's a chayin in children. So children have certain chayin about them. It's easier to resonate with you.
So the answer is there would be a reason.
Right.
There would have to be some kind of reason, yeah? Meaning, if you like the fact that he's really tall, that would be funny, yeah, but maybe. Yeah, what about the fact that you like that he's really intelligent, he's really funny, he's really helpful, he's really kind? All of these are qualities about Naphtali that Tzvi doesn't have. So therefore Naphtali is your favourite and Tzvi is your second favourite, yeah? But we know that the love of your child, where do we see true, pure parental love? Is of a mother with her newborn baby. That is the purest, truest kind of love. Why? Because there's no thing about the baby that you can. They're not even cute when they're first born. They look horrible. All they do is, they're just like little, like men can't really relate. You know what I'm talking about, yeah? Like it takes me about a year and a half until I can start having a relationship with my children, yeah? But my wife is immediately, why? So that's a real relationship. It's not about anything about the baby. It's the baby himself, herself.
She put so much into it.
That's building the relationship. But the minute the baby's out, even so, it's still. I hear what you're saying, but it's beyond even that. That adds to it.
Nothing could change that would make that different.
It's unconditional, but we're not calling it. See, a lot of people talk about what we're talking about right now as unconditional love. Yeah, and I understand what they're saying, but we don't. It's confusing because love is an emotion. This is the definition of a relationship. A relationship. Sometimes you hate them, sometimes you love them. That's a relationship has all the ups and downs. Yeah, love is an emotion, so we don't call it unconditional love because I don't always love my kids. Wow, only a father can say this, or a mother. You don't always love your children. Far from it. You don't always love your spouse. Far from it. But you're always in a relationship with your spouse. You should always be prepared to give up your life for your spouse or for your children. Whether or not you like them right now, that's a whole different story. Yeah, you can go through years of negative feelings. You obviously want to have good feelings. That's obvious. But that's not the relationship. The relationship is much bigger than that. Much, much, much bigger than that. So now when my friend tells me that his son, this one's his favourite, now what's actually happening? What about when a man loves this lady because she's very wealthy? She comes from a wealthy family. He knows that the minute they've tied the knot, he's in. She's also quite nice. She's a nice person. She's pretty. She's fine. She's lovely, But what's the real? Really, the relationship is the money.
Right. The wealth goes.
She is attached to the money. Thank God, she's also quite nice, so it's fine. Yeah.
That's love half. Even she wasn't so nice. The money was taken from
Meaning
him.
she's secondary to the money.
Right.
The money is really what it's all about. Yeah, and she comes along with the money. Right. Now, on a subconscious level, she will understand. She will feel that. Yeah, whenever somebody's in a relationship with somebody else for an ulterior motive, that will come. What that will actually cause is a rebellion. Again, the other person has free will, and they could break the system, but the way the system's built, I understand it, is that if we're in a relationship with somebody for something, that relationship, given the longest amount of time, will actually turn into a war and a complete separation. Given the longest amount of time, assuming that we just go with the flow.
Know why though? She might not necessarily know why.
She won't necessarily know why. This is the dangerous bit, So now, what's actually happening, and this is why we say that Hashem hates Sitra Achra. Said in the beginning of Tanya that he actually is soiner Sitra Achra. Why would he hate something that he creates? Everything you see is Sitra Achra. The table is Sitra Achra. Yeah? Everything's Sitra Achra. My goof is Sitra Achra. The only thing that isn't really like Mamash Sitra Achra is my neshama, which is even you could say Kalim of it are kind of Sitra Achra. Sitra Achra just means something that has some kind of independent or apparent independent reality other than God. So a Torah scroll is not Sitra Achra, it's Kedusha. Why? Because when you look at a Torah scroll, you immediately, it reveals the Rebbeinu Shalom. But when I look at a table, this table doesn't scream out Hashem created me. This table screams out, I was here yesterday, and I'm here right now, and I'm going to be here tomorrow. And you know what? No one else can be in the place that I'm in. This table in a sense declares itself as Elokus, as Elohus, I should say. Meaning, I am what? I am muyuchad, which would be the real definition of that. The way I understand it, Epinemius, is that you can't inhabit my space. I've taken up a space, and that space is now taken. Just like a car's parked in a parking spot, you can't park there because there's a car there. That's one of the deepest philosophical things there is.
Sitra Achra is inherently not good.
It's not that that's not true. No? Sitra Achra is not inherently not good. Sitra Achra is inherently not revelationary.
So what's Klipas Noiga?
Klipas Noiga. So Sitra Achra is the broad term for Klipas Noiga and Klipas Tames. Klipa and Sitra Achra are synonymous terms. So we've got a spectrum of Klipa. You've got Klipas Noiga, which is like the roofing outside there, like like a frosted glass over there, yeah, where it allows some light to come through, but it conceals it also. Like, you don't know what's behind the frosted. That's why they make showers of that, because you don't want to see inside, but you can see someone's in the shower, or you can see it's daytime or nighttime, so it allows some kind of revelation. Yeah, that's why we can enjoy it and use it. Yeah, but it's not like a Sefer Torah, which is just ultimately it is by definition revelatory, if that's a word. Yeah, revelationary, whatever you want to say. Yeah. So Sitra Achra is just the broad term for everything that's why it's called Sitra Achra. Yeah. It's just the other side. The other side of what? The other side of Kedusha. So it's not bad. This table isn't Kadosh, so it's Sitra Achra. But we're using it now for a holy purpose, and if we're eating a Shabbos food on it, or we're learning Torah on it, or we're feeding poor people on it, yeah? Now it gets taken into mitzvah, and it goes up, and it gets released from Sitra Achra, and it goes into Kedusha. The mechanics of what parts go where and how it works out is very complicated, and I don't understand it. But that's the basic low resolution image I just said. Do I understand it? So now, why do we say that Hashem hates Sitra Achra? Why does he hate the table? What's the table done wrong? So it doesn't mean that he hates the table like in the way that we think hate. Yeah.
And just define sin.
Yeah, so hello. Hate means, in the context of Tanya, the way that my Rebbe explained it to me, it's the relationship that you have with something if it's not the point. If you have a relationship with something for an ulterior motive, then it's defined in Tanya, as I've received from my Messiah, as you hate that thing. So in the relationship with that woman who the man marries for money, yeah, who's a very nice lady, and I actually really like her, that's still called hate. If the money is primary. Now the way marriage works, this is kind of tangentially, but the way the marriage should work is that you should marry your wife for her money, not for her money. You understand? For something else. Yeah? How else do you select a mate? It has to be, she has to look a certain way. She has to be, intelligent to a certain level. She has to be kind. You're looking for qualities about her, yeah? There's no other way. That's what shidduchim is.
Well, that's
why are you confused?
But it can't be, I married her because she's pretty or she's intelligent.
Why not?
You can always find someone prettier or more intelligent. It
Well,
becomes part of a composite, but it's not, this is the reason I married her. Okay, fine, a pretty girl will walk by. Okay, next.
but you add all these reasons together, and that's the reason why you married her.
But in totality, all of them together, but not one specific reason.
Okay, but it's a bunch. So it's not just her money; it's the fact that her dad's also got a really, fancy estate, and that that they've got a powerful position.
It's all money.
Well, it doesn't even matter what it is if it's something else. So the fact that it's not just that she's very beautiful, that some people marry a woman because she's very beautiful, but I'm not like that. So she's really beautiful. That's nice, but she's also like, she's got very good table manners. I don't know, etc. What it is. It's something else. The point is that that's how you get married. That's how you end up actually getting married.
Why is that? Why isn't that? That's what you find attractive, and you're attracted
exactly.
to that, and
now you marry the woman, and now you have to walk through the prosdor into the metraklin. You have to walk through the corridor into the palace. Yeah,
and all of that. Everything else that comes.
No.
I missed it.
The palace is her. The palace is that one-day-old baby that the mother's in love with. That's the palace. The person. Nothing about the person. The corridor is all the things about her is the corridor to her. Right. That's what marriage is. Marriage is, I married this girl because she's X, Y, and Z. Yeah? Now marriage is the avoider of going through all of that to the point where you enjoy it, you like the fact that she still looks nice, yeah? Etc., etc. But like I've said many times, recently, my best friend when I was a kid, his father was just nifter, and he was reduced to, he didn't have Parkinson's, he had something like that, yeah? And he was reduced to he would just lie there like that. I think he was still there. He just had no function, anything, yeah? And his wife she should be well. Tremendous tzedekos. Or I don't know if she's tremendous tzedekos. I know that she was married though, because she nursed her husband to death. Yeah, for like 3 years or something, 4 years, without any. She was there 24/7 for that man, 24/7. To the point where people were like, Margaret, you have to get out, you have to do it. She was. That was real marriage, where Hashem took away everything about him, and there was just the person left. You with me? Just a oneness. You can't talk about that. That's really what relationships are about. Is getting connected to that reality of the person. Yeah. So now, the way it works, the way it functions, I understand it, is that when a person is in a relationship for an ulterior motive, that's cool. So what Hashem has a relationship with this table, yeah? Why does he have a relationship with this table? Why did he make this table?
So we can uplift it or downgrade it.
Well, he made it for a reason. Just like I married her for her money. He made it for a reason.
What's his ulterior motive to create this?
So his ulterior motive for this, which we're going to talk about in a minute, the ulterior motive for this table is that it should fuse back into his reality. The purpose of creation is what we call Dir, which means the way other tzaddikim say that, because that's very like Chabad Lashon, although it's become very normative. Dir b'tachtonim, which is exactly what we're going to talk about very soon, B'Shalom Hashem, is the yichud of Kudsha Baruch Hu Shchintei. Simple as that. So when people say, Dir b'tachtonim, it's just this obscure medrash in Tanchumo, and why'd you base your yeah, that's not what it is. That's just a cute way of what we call yichud Kudsha Baruch Hu Shchintei, which everybody understands and believe. Well, I don't know if everyone understands it, but everyone believes in that. That's the purpose of creation. That's why Rashi writes at the very beginning of Chumash, Bishvil Torah, Bishvil Yisrael. Hashem created the world for the sake of Torah and for the sake of Yisrael. What does that mean? Torah is the method by which Yisrael becomes bound up in God. So why did he create creation? For Torah and for Yisrael. So that could be a yichud of Kodesh Baruch Hu, of Torah and Yisrael, which is really a yichud of Kudsha Baruch Hu Shchintei. Torah is the
interface.
The interface, yeah, for sure, 100%. It's
a conduit.
There's so many ways that it, like how it works, but there couldn't be like if for example, if your wife didn't have any need, there could be no relationship. That's why you can't have a relationship with an inanimate object. You can have a relationship with a plant. Yeah, you can have a relationship with an animal. Yeah, because you can fulfill the need. You can meet them. That's called their rotzon. They don't call it need or want. Whether you can discuss that yourselves. Yeah, let's call it rotzon. Without a rotzon, there is no. There's no one. There isn't anyone.
There's no relationship.
There's no one. There's no one to have a relationship with, like a rock. Right. You can't have a relationship with a rock. You can't do anything for a rock. Whereas a plant, I have plants in my office that I feel kind of connected to. I have one plant in my office for like much longer than some of my kids have been around for. He's still like going, I have occasionally I say a nice word to him. I go through to Kuf as well. I've spoken to him at length, He's, you can have a relationship with a plant. I feed him, I dust him off a little bit, I help him out. So I have a relationship with him. Yeah, I know people have deep relationships with their animals. Very, very, very deep relationships with animals.
And relationships with AI. I have a relationship with AI. I'm working on things. I speak to it.
That's really interesting. That's an interesting thing because you don't actually help him at all.
I know.
He helps you.
It's totally one way.
Yeah. So I'm not sure that's really not a relationship. But yeah, go on.
The Torah is the Ratzon that allows us to have
exactly. The Torah is Hashem's Ratzon that kind of congealed into a form that we can now connect to.
So we can table.
What?
So what's it do with the table?
So this table is the Ratzon Chitzoni of Hashem. Not Ratzon. The Pnimius Ratzon of Hashem is that there should be a yichud of Kudsha B'Recha Shchintei. Pnimius Ratzon, Chesonius Ratzon is just like we've said. You've got things, if I'm in it for my wife, like my friend's mother was in it for her husband, there was nothing about him left. Yeah? So her inner will was her husband. Yeah? When this guy marries this girl because she's very wealthy, yeah, his external will is the girl, his inner will is the money.
So what's Hashem's inner will of creating the world?
So
what's Hashem's inner will of creating
that's
the
what he
world?
said, is the yichud of Kudsha B'Recha Shchintei.
And what does he get from that?
Sorry?
What does he get from that? It's a whole different separate conversation.
I don't know.
Nothing.
I don't know.
Nothing.
What?
Hashem gets nothing. Hashem doesn't need anything.
But it's not a
I don't know about that as well.
Then it's not a
But I don't know.
relationship.
What?
It's not a relationship if he gets nothing.
I don't know.
What can we provide?
I don't know. You have to ask him, and you should have your own thoughts about it, and you should ask the Rebbeinu Shalom what he wants. That's for sure. But that is the point of creation, according to the Tanya, according to the Ari, the way I understand it, according to what I received from my Rebbe. The point of creation is a yichud between Kudsha B'Recha Shchintei, which really means between God and creation. Yeah. How does a man? It's difficult to talk about this. The most intimate zivug is not zivug. Yeah, the most intimate zivug is actually nashikin, is kissing. Yeah, that's the most intimate. All the other, there's 3 levels of zivug. Yeah, there's nishuk, chibuk, and zivug. You know what these words mean? No. Nishuk is kissing, chibuk is hugging, and then zivug is relations, actual relations. Yeah. So the lowest level of zivug is actually because they're not really. It's not. It's whatever. This is a much more complex thing to explain. But let's not go over there. The point is that when 2 people kiss mouth to mouth, yeah, that is a yichud of them on the most profound level. But when you look, you shouldn't. But if you're looking, there's just this top bit of their face is connected to the top bit of the other person's face. Why is that? So when I said that it's God and creation coming together, it's really God and the Jewish people coming together. The Jewish people is we're the head of creation. But the coming to, do you understand? It's like a kiss. When a man kisses his wife, the whole man is connected to the whole wife. You with me? That's so you could say, oh yeah, it's just about Hashem and his people, the Jewish people, yeah? It's right, but it's probably not the way you're thinking. That's the point of connection. But it's the entire thing that is what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants, including this table. Understand? That's part of the lower bit.
Everything else will cease to exist if the kissing doesn't happen, metaphorically.
It wouldn't have the purpose is that the 2 come together, Kodesh Baruch Hu and creation, right, the creator and creation.
Everything else is a product of that.
Well, you need creation for that. Yeah, so it needs to come down to the lowest level. That's so you've got when a man is involved in neshika with his wife, yeah, her toenails are bound up with his toenails also, even though they're not connected to each other. But the entire man becomes completely bound up with the entire woman. You with me? It all goes derech harosh, all the way. It all works through the head. You understand? That's where the mensch is. Yeah. Everything else is just mishamsher rosh. The whole goof is just so the rosh can. You ever saw that film with Stephen Martin, the man with 2 brains? Do you remember that? That's a long time ago. Oh, it was a cute story of they took his brain out and he had his brain in the jar, but that was the guy, you know. It was like, that's where he is, you know. Like you can imagine with, you know, it would be scary if they took, I know they're talking about this, if they took all the digital history of a certain person for the past 30 years, yeah? Scary. Everything. Scary. All the conversations by email, all of the browsing history, all of the YouTube history, everything about that person, yeah? And they process it through the AI, and they sampled the sound, they made an audio avatar of the voice,
scary.
Sounds like Tchias Mason. You understand? That's crazy. You wouldn't know. Okay, there's no goof. Maybe you can make the goof as well, but that's not, you can talk to someone on the telephone for hours and hours, Just an interesting thought. But anyway, the point is that the kesher takes place through the Chabad. That's where it happens. Yeah, everything else just gets schlepped along for the journey. So that's also there. But there needs to be a goof, because otherwise there wouldn't be the ability to. If there wasn't a goof, the kiss couldn't take place. That's just how it works. So you need the whole thing comes there. So that means. So that's the understanding of this. Hashem hates the table. Yeah, it doesn't mean that he hates them. It means that it's just not primary in his plan. This table serves a purpose. Klal Yisrael doesn't serve a purpose. Just like that the 1 day old baby doesn't serve a purpose. In fact, it's a big hindrance. It's annoying for my physical life. Yeah, I have to deal with it.
Does that mean we need the guy in this role?
The what?
Does that mean we need the guy in the role?
And their toenails. And everything about reality is necessary. In fact, the whole point of it is that the toenails that's his real, the way I understand it, that's his brach. His real taiva is that the toenails of the goyim become bound up with him also. And all of, just the whole thing, that's really his real wish. That the lowest level and the highest level become absolutely one. That's like the one thing I really know about Hashem. That's what he wants. Anyway, so now when we talk about Hashem hating Sitra Achra, it just means that Sitra Achra, the point of Sitra Achra, it's very interesting. I don't talk about Gematria so much, as you know. I have a problem with Gematrias, and just that's not how my head works. Is one really important Gematria that I do know is that Klipa and Bechira are the same Gematria.
Oh, cool.
That is what Klipa is about. Klipa is to provide you with the opportunity, with a viable alternative to reality. That's the point of Klipa. So what's the point of having a viable alternative to reality? So you can choose reality. That's Bechira. With me? It's very simple, no? I haven't said anything difficult here at all. So, what?
Open my mind a little bit.
We can blow our minds, but it's always the most profound truths are always the most simple things to understand. Always. By definition. And the most practically relevant immediately. Like understanding this idea of a face-to-face, this is called a face-to-face relationship. A face-to-face relationship is when I'm in it for you, you're in it for me. It's nothing about you. Remember when it's something about you, even the fact that you're kind, I'm getting something. It's about me, really. Face-to-face is the ultimate example. It's not really a face-to-face because the baby isn't corresponding. But the ultimate relationship, face relationship, is the mother's relationship to her 1 day old baby. There's nothing that she's taking from the baby. There's nothing about the baby. The baby doesn't have a name yet. Yeah? And that's really very profound. Because all we're talking about here is called name. Yeah? And the goal of Am Yisrael is to show that he and his name is one. It's the same Inyan. Yeah? That the baby, the person is to say, I want the person, it's about the person. I don't know how to say it because it's like semantics, you get caught in like philosophical traps. Like you say, oh yeah, I want the person, or then no, you want something from the person. It's the person. So just just save me that hassle. But that's a real relationship. The minute it's something about the relationship, about the person or about whatever it is we're talking about, that's really turned into more of a back-to-back relationship. The ultimate example of back-to-back relationship is your relationship with your cab driver. Yeah? You could switch out that cab driver for any other cab driver. No difference. And he could switch you out with any other passenger. No difference. You need to get to Romania and he needs money. And that's a transactional relationship. That's called back-to-back. Yeah? That's a back-to-back relationship. The ultimate level of back-to-back relationship. So the actual person becomes absolutely irrelevant, but not hated. But in Lashon of Tanya, we call that hated. That's when we say Hashem hates Sitra Achra, yeah? That's even saying that he hates the Umas Olam in many places. It says that, but it doesn't mean what we understand to be hate. It would be like a man's relationship. Sorry?
So why does it say it that way?
You missed the whole precursors. When we talk about hate in this level, we're talking about when you want something for an alternative reason. So in a sense, you would say like this, in the same vein, that a man hates his wife's body. Not because she's ugly or fat, but because it's about her. It's not about her body. Her body is just a necessary kli, a necessary vessel that he can have a relationship with her. But you would never say he hates her body. Of course not. But that's the context. When we say that Hashem hates, that's the way that we mean that. That it's a secondary, it's something for another ulterior motive. Okay? And that causes rebellion. That will cause rebellion. And that was why, going back now to my friend who had his favourite son, his favourite child, well now, by definition, the fact that he's your favourite child is because of stuff about him. So I bet you he's going to be feeling rejected and disconnected to you. Rejected by you and disconnected from you, which is crazy because my friend's sitting there thinking, but I love him the most. It's because, exactly, so he's feeling most disconnected. That's the part, it's the craziness, one of the Inyan of the Bechor, who you're always more close to, and there's so many things. The idea of the favourite child is so treif for the favourite child. It's absolutely terrible for the favourite child because he's not really your favourite child. He has qualities that you prefer, which means he's actually your least favourite child. The actual child, the actual person is, you hear what I'm saying? It's a crazy thing, but that's why that causes, so when we love anyone for an ulterior motive, whether it's her money, or the fact that she's gorgeous, or the fact that she makes good food, or the fact she's good with the kids, or the fact, or this, or that, or any other thing, we're actually moving further away from the person. That doesn't mean you can't appreciate these qualities. You should appreciate these qualities and mention it to him. A lot of these qualities are how you have a relationship with the person, but that's not the relationship. The relationships with the person, like we said, those qualities are the prosdor. They're the corridor to the person. The minute you forget that there's a person, which in our generation is, a lot of this is chidush to me. It's not a chidush to you anymore. You've sat with me for so long. Probably not a chiddush to you anymore, and also to you I don't think, and you're getting less now, but these are generally chiddushim. To you it's probably a bit of a chiddush, this idea where it's like it's the deepest idea of all ideas. It's really the point of creation, but it's absolutely immediately applicable on every single level. That's how you know it's the most true idea there is, the concept of face-to-face relationship and back-to-back relationship. So now, when we're talking about loving your fellow Jew, this is all circling back to chapter 32. That was all a Hakdama. We're obviously not talking about liking our fellow Jew, because that's not really, that's what in Chazal is called an Ahavatalyu B'dafa, a love that's dependent on something. That's what it is. And it says when that thing goes, well then the love is gone. Because there wasn't really any love. There was just love for the thing. And the person was attached to that thing. So they're actually feeling more dislocated to you. And that is the avoider of marriage. That is the avoider of marriage, is growing old with someone. Their looks go away. There's a lot of things in a sense. Marriage should get much more difficult as you get older. Hopefully it doesn't, because you're getting closer and closer to the person. But she, it's difficult for a man on a physical level, to see his wife's body deteriorate or whatever happens. That's hard for a man. Men are more visual, aesthetic, so that's hard. But the whole point of it is that you're trying to actually get to her through all of the stuff. That's the avoider of marriage, which is really the avoider of Yiddishkeit. Just getting to him as opposed to what I can get from him, which is why we're so averse, why I'm so allergic to Islam. because the whole point of Islam is getting to heaven. Well, when you play it out when you play that out and you think about it a little more conceptually, well, now what does Allah become? If you're all about getting to heaven, well, who's God? What?
It's all about judgment.
Forget that. But what does God become? If you serve Allah so that you can go to, what do they call it?
Paradise?
Hell.
They call it something, whatever they call it. So you can go to heaven. Well, what's primary? What's secondary in the equation?
You're the person himself.
You want to go to Gan Eden. So it's about your pleasure. And the only way you can get your pleasure is by pleasing God. So God becomes a masur, a shofar, how is it?
Shofar.
A shofar. A shofar, not a shofar. Yeah, a shofar. He becomes your servant. He's the way that you get to heaven. So what happens to him? That's not a relationship. Understand? Religion is set up in a way. If you think it's about, well, it depends on your definition of Gan Eden, of Olam Haba. Yeah, but Olam Haba by us on a previous level is not the same Inyan as Olam Haba is him. That's what we're talking about. Olam Haba. We're not talking about getting goodies in heaven. We're talking about him himself. Olam Haba. It's not the world Olam Lavoi. It's Olam Haba. It's the person himself, meaning the Rabbeinu Shalom. There is no relationship. If we're here serving God so that we can get our place in heaven, well, that's just like marrying a woman for her money. The woman herself becomes despised. Given the ultimate amount of time, that will, and given just a natural course, that will turn very sour. So when we're talking about love of our fellow Jew, this is exactly what he says, is that the love of the fellow Jew, you have to go beyond the goof. He talks about to the nefesh, yeah, to the nefesh of the kis. That means really the essence of what you are. And
what does that mean? Pardon me. You're speaking in a lot of negatives. It's not the money. It's not the goof. It's not. So what is it? How do you?
You could say more than what you just said. You could say you're speaking in only negatives.
Yeah.
I am speaking in only negatives, and I don't think until you're married that this could be understood. I mean, I'm sorry to say that. Meaning the idea of the person behind, like all I can do, because there is nothing to say about that. There's no thing to talk about. There isn't.
Just is.
There's no. All I can do is talk about what it isn't.
But you're saying that any relationship is supposedly.
So
like
in that,
like
but the thing is, but there's no relationships where somebody really drives you crazy, and you still have to sleep in the same room as them, There's no relationships like that I know of, where you're forced into going beyond. Like your brothers and sisters annoy you. I know people who haven't spoken to their brothers and sisters in years. I know people who have spoken to their parents for years. I don't know anybody who hasn't spoken to their wife for years. That's called divorce. You can't do that. So that's why the marriage is like the ultimate way of understanding a person, because she keeps doing that thing that she's been doing for 20 years, and it's gotten even worse, What? And it's like that thing just, and plus just forget that, I heard Rav Manas the other day say, it should be that men should marry men and women should marry women. Like, it's much easier to get on with a man as a man than it is to get on with a woman, And like women actually like things that men can't understand. What like with my wife's connection to Purim and my daughter's connection to Purim, it's all about what?
Costumes.
It's costumes, and the shlachmanas has to be like this with these kind of cookies, and the fact that she got the red thing, There was only the black thing, but in the corner of the shop there was the red one. She comes home, she's like, wow, And I'm sitting there thinking, well, nowadays I don't think so much, so I try not to think at all, Bichlal, so I'm a much nicer husband, but then I look at, I said this to you recently, is that I love snooker, love snooker, I'll watch it for a few minutes sometimes, a few minutes. You know what snooker is? Like billiards, And I realised recently that what I love about that is the precision. Like I said, like when someone, the top guy, yeah, whenever he knocks a ball into the pocket, you see it's like perfectly in the middle of the pocket. And that does something to me.
The science.
It does something. And when the guy goes all around the 12-foot table and the ball lands perfectly behind the blue so the other guy can't see the red, yeah? That does something to me, yeah? My wife's looking at me thinking, why on earth are you looking at this? I would rather die than have to spend 5 minutes watching this, yeah? And I'm sitting there thinking, I'd rather die than have to go to your shop and buy that special hadpami thing, or go to 4 different shops because you need that black one with the red thing, yeah? Just get the plate. And she's sitting there with me like going, what are you doing with why is it? So by definition, women and men, I just gave funny examples, but everyone knows women and men are like absolutely opposite in so many ways, in like fundamental ways. Well, that's going to force you to actually have to have a relationship with the person. Whereas with the guy, you go fishing, you have a beer, you watch this, you do this, you schmooze, you learn, yeah? You never actually have to get to the person because all the things are aligned. You with me? So really, the real relationship is with the woman because she's just, all the things don't align. So you have to. Either you I would say you're lucky. But you're not really lucky if your wife is like you. That's not luck. That's a big avoider. That's a big avoider to be married. Yeah. But in a sense, you're lucky when your wife isn't very impressive or she isn't this or that, because now you can actually have a relationship with her. And all of that is just in context of relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom. And that's why Rav Manis says that's the reason why the Rebbeinu Shalom is so hidden from us. Because if the Rebbeinu Shalom was visible to us, we would be so overwhelmed by things about him that we wouldn't be able to actually serve him. Imagine meeting, the most impressive human being there's ever been. And this is one of the things that happens a lot with the concept of Rebbes and stuff like that, or Havdil, cult leaders and things like that. Very, very, very impressive, but very impressive people.
A lot of reasons.
Exactly, and it's really hard to actually connect to the person because there's so many reasons, So in a sense, when a man's wife is more pasha and more, as a tangential thing, I'll tell you something I learned this week. I told you I'm learning psychology now, and I just learned like the craziest thing. I can't believe I didn't know. I literally almost fell off the toilet. It's like this. What's the primary purpose of the woman? What's her primary avoider with the children? Yeah? Because I know I speak to a lot of men. A lot of men get upset because the woman can't be mechanech the kids, and she's very soft, and she's And as you get a little bit older, you realise that really the kids just need that kind of that love, that just unconditional love, where the mother's always he's wrong, she's wrong, but my kid's always right. If the father's like, what are you doing? You're doing it again. He's a great guy. Why are you doing this to him? Yeah, and the mother, so that's like pasha, yeah. But I just understood the mechanics of it this week. Which is last week. It's amazing. The mother socializes the child. What does that mean? The mother's role, the primary, functionally or evolutionary, whatever the way he expresses it in these psychology books I'm reading, this really is profound. The mother's role is to not teach, is to have the child connect other people or the concept of relationship with pleasure.
Yeah.
That is so big. I'll unpack. Meaning that the mother is there with the kid. Go, squidging and playing and feeding and constantly with the child in a very loving way, that the child constantly trying to make the child smile, like evolutionary, if you want to say it like that. Yeah, the mechanics, the biology of the mother. Yeah, if she's a regular woman, is gooey and cooey and all over the baby. Yeah. What is that about? If they're more like put together, they'll still be unless they've gone through some funny stuff, yeah. But what they're trying to do is constantly make the child smile and laugh and giggle, and they want what they're doing, not even on a subconscious level, is they are building the child's connection between pleasure and relationship, or between pleasure and other people. You hear that? It's murid, no? Murid.
Very profound.
It's murid. And that is called socializing the child. That's called socializing the child. Yeah, if you want to use very, very like dry psychological technical jargon, that's called socializing the child. But think about it. That's everything, isn't it? So being sociable means appreciating other people. And that happens because for the first year of your life, and it happens, I think after 2, it's not possible anymore. If a person, I've been reading all these crazy stories about kids who get completely neglected between the years of 0 and 1, yeah? Or between 6 months and 1.5 years, yeah? Whatever, that time period, and they become completely, I mean, again, there's lots of ways that Hashem can bring you through it, and etc. But the way that the mechanics works, the biology works, I understood it, is that the child becomes unsociable, but to the point where the child could become mamash psychopathic and completely unable to relate to anybody, have any kind of relationship with Allah, because those neural pathways of pleasure and people never got merged. But that's rare because mothers, by definition, are cooey and gooey over you, at least for the first year or so. Yeah, and that's when all these networks are formed. So it's even beyond, and that was a side point as well. That was worth saying. But it's beyond the idea of just unconditional love. It's much, much, much deeper than that. It's much more primal. Much more primal. We went on so many different tangents, but we are so yeah. So that was a mamash tangent. But the point of Ahavas Yisrael is when a person is connected to his body, which is what makes me. When we say body, we don't just mean the physical body. We mean the nefesh bahamas. We mean the egoic body. We mean there's lots of ruchnius components to body. Yeah, when a person's connected to that, what that means is they're connected to what makes me different from everybody else. That's where the difference is. Like we've said many times, the moshel for the moshel is the eye. You have the iris, which is the colourful part around the pupil. Yeah, the actual person is compared to the pupil, and every pupil is the same. It's just black, and it's not even a circle. The only reason why it looks like a circle is because the iris is like an empty hole. The iris is like a circle, like a mint with a hole in the middle. So the only reason why you know that your pupil's round, although it actually is round, I think, is that because the iris encloses it. So you don't know even the shape of the pupil. It's the iris gives the shape to the pupil. You with me? The iris opens and closes. So by definition, it's not the pupil that's getting bigger and smaller. The pupil stays the same. It's like an aperture that opens and closes. Yeah. So the pupil is always the same. It's the same thing. It's what makes us all the same. What makes us different is the iris. Everyone's iris is completely different. Yours is blue, mine's brown, yours is bright, mine's dark. Yeah. When a person's connected to his goof, he is connected to the iris. And now his relationship with everybody else is going to be on a level of iris. So if you've got blue eyes like I've got blue eyes, then I'll get on with you. If you've got bright eyes like I've got bright eyes, I'll get on with you. Or maybe you've got bright eyes that I've got dark eyes, but I like bright eyes, I'll get on with you. You understand? That's called being superficial. Your relationship with yourself needs to be, and this is what people talk about, unconditional love for themselves. Again, the unconditional love thing is a bit of a red herring because it's not love. This is much deeper than love. That the relationship with yourself should be about the black, should be with the black bit. Meaning, if you're connected to the black, when you do something wrong, you will pull yourself together and get over it. Why? Because I did something wrong. I'm fixed. I'm perfect. I'm doing things that are wrong, so I need to fix that. Whereas if you're caught up in the iris, it's not that you're doing things that are wrong. You're wrong. You're evil. You with me? So that's the only way of getting beyond seeing yourself as how you behave, thought, speech, and action, is by getting clear on what you actually are. You with me? And that's unchanging, and that's the foundation of everything else. And that will give you the ability to do tshuva. Because kol zman, you are the behavior, which is how most of us feel we are. Like most of our relationships are based on stuff about the other person. So to our relationship with ourselves is based on stuff about us. People will say, "Do you feel good about yourself?" They'll be, "Yeah, I feel great about myself. Look at what I'm doing. I got this business running. I'm doing this. I've got etc. I've got all these things. Why wouldn't I feel great about myself? Yeah." And the other guy's like, "No, I don't feel so good about myself. Yeah, I keep screwing this up. I can't get this off the ground. I can't do this. I can't do that. Yeah." So either way, they're both connected to external things. They're not actually connected to them. And that's when that's called a break between the person and the name.
Does that mean you hate
That's
yourself?
called galus.
Does that mean you hate yourself?
It means you don't. It means you don't know yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm saying in these terms, in the Tanya terms of hate, it means you hate
You
yourself.
just took the ball and ran with it. Maybe. I think so. So now the what's the goal? How do I have a relationship with you as opposed to the things about you? And the way the Rebbe says it is you have to get connected to yourself. Kol zman I'm connected to all the things about me, then I'm just going to be involved in all the things about you. That's why it says v'ahavta l'recha k'moicha. Cha is chaf, is keser, is the you, not the things about you. Yeah, the keser is you. Yeah, it doesn't even go in the goof; it goes on the goof. It surrounds the goof. It's bigger than the goof. You go in your keser. It's not like It's not like your keser is a part of you. It's you're an expression of keser, of your keser. You can't even call it your keser. That's you. That's the kaf. So if you have to recha k'moicha, meaning you have to get deeply connected to you, and then you're going to be able to have relationships with others. Kol zman, you're not related, you're not connected to you.
Can't work.
Well, you can't have a relationship with another.
You love others the way you love yourself.
Exactly, that's the whole point. So the eitzah of you have to recha k'moicha is much more kind of like of an eitzah as opposed to a commandment. If you have to recha k'moicha, not k'moi bigdecha, k'moi personality shelcha, k'moi kesev shelcha, k'moicha, the you. So get connected to yourself, and that is a silver bullet, so to speak, to having relationships, real relationships with everyone. Really, not just your wife. It means you will actually have a real relationship, like we said, with the cab driver. Just the wife is like the playground, so to speak. It's not a nice way of saying it. She's like I mean, again, like I don't know what the chiluk between the cha, my keser, and the Rebbeinu Shalom is. I don't know if there is a chiluk. I don't know if there's a difference there. But just as a nice side point is, if you look into your children's eyes when you bench them on Friday night, I always make a point of trying to look into their eyes, mamash, you'll see that your face is reflected in the pupil, not in the iris. You see yourself in the pupil. That's a real relationship. Real relationship means that I have a real relationship with my hand. Meaning, we look like two different things. There's me and my hand, but we know that we're internally completely unified. We're both in it for the same purpose. I'm in it for the agenda of, we're all together, we're one. That's called an organization or an organism. Same thing, organism, organization, same idea. Where there's a riboy of parts, endless pieces, but there's a complete oneness. Why? Because they're all unified in the same agenda of the organism or the organization. Like we said, when a cell of a person's body develops its own agenda, that's called machla. Kol zman, the cells are all in there. They're doing function. You could zoom in, and you'll be able to see loads of little cells, and they're very separate. By definition, a cell has its nuclear envelope, and it has the definition of a cell is that it's a defined thing. And there's like 50 trillion of them in us, yeah. But I'm one. And now when you look at Am Yisrael, it's the exact same thing. They do. So the difference between an organism and an organization. Go on, see if you can nail that. What's the difference between an organism and an organization? Because conceptually they're basically the same, but we know there's a difference.
You can't have corruption in an organism.
What?
You can't have corruption in an organism.
Can't have corruption in an organism?
Yeah.
It's called cancer.
What?
Sure you can. When a cell develops its own agenda. But you may be
Cancer-
onto something, but that's not that you can get corruption in an organism also, for sure.
How?
It's maybe easier to get corruption in an organisation. Why?
You could be corrupted.
The difference in an organisation and an organism is space. It's just there's more space between the parts. Like I, as an organism, are very tightly compacted. You with me? Where a great way of understanding what an organisation is understanding an ant nest. What's it called? An ant.
The intel.
It's not a nest.
Colony.
Yeah, colony.
A what? Colony. Thank you. An ant colony. Yeah. An ant colony is, if you look in the biology books, an ant colony is described as a single organism. No single ant could live by itself. The foragers would get eaten by predators. The warriors wouldn't have anything to eat. The nurses wouldn't have anything because every ant by itself would not be able to make it. So when you see the line of ants, you see that line of ants, what you're really seeing is a tentacle of that organism that we call an ant colony. It's one thing. It's just different to us because there's more space. Same with Google. Exactly the same thing with Google. Google is an organization, yeah, and hopefully for them at least, they want everybody to be united under the same agenda. And now you have a oneness which is made up of endless parts. It's beautiful. We've gotten back to the point here now. We just kept going, and now we came in naturally into chapter 33. So chapter 32 is basically saying relate to yourself not as a goof, relate to yourself as a neshama, but meaning relate to yourself as the essential self of who you are. Yeah, and that is a segula nifla. Yeah, a very, very it's a very good way of having a real relationship with everybody else. So the more brutally honest you can be about yourself and to yourself, the more you will be able to have relationships with other people. It's an amazing idea, revolutionary idea. He says it in such kind of like simple terms in one way, and then very what's the word? Mystical, not mystical,
Esoteric.
yeah. What's the word?
Obscure.
No, yeah, obscure, but no, there's a better word. Obfuscated. What?
Obfuscate. You obfuscate something.
Yeah, where you kind of conceal it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's very that's what. So but that's the real the essence of the chapter, and then it comes. The end bit is so in line because it says he starts talking. I don't want to get into this idea because we want to do chapter 33. But the last bit that he says, that's again so simple when you don't understand what we're really talking about, is what about your relationship to a Jew who's doing the wrong thing, a Russia? He's doing a virus. Now, what's your relationship with him? So you have a mitzvah to hate him, and to tell your Rav to hate him. Yeah, that's what he says, which is interesting. I have to think about that. But that doesn't dissolve your mitzvah to also love him. So mitzvah love him. So what people say to that is, well, you love the good in him, and you hate the bad in him. What about him? What a question. You hear that? If you've divided this person into good and bad, yeah?
Where is he?
You've fallen back into this trap of things about him. Where did he himself go? You should say that he is good, but then you're not referring to the good, you're referring to him because he's the one doing the bad. So if you love the mitzvahs that he has and the good behavior that he does, and you hate the bad behavior that he does and the averas that he does, well, what happened to him? And this is what the Rebbe says. So what's the segula for actually relating to him is Rahmanas. See, having Rahmanas on him, because right now he's divided. He's doing good, he's doing bad. Yeah, or he may be only doing bad, whatever it is. But by having Rahmanas on the him, that's the getting connected. Rahmanas is the
That's the connecting point.
Well, it's the connection to the person. That's exactly the point now. So it's not about, I love the good and I hate the bad. Of course we hate Ra, we hate Averas, yeah, but what about the person? Yeah, those are so external to the person. The person we still love, how do you do that? Rahmanas means appreciating the actual person. There's 3 traits of a Jew, yeah? What are the 3 traits of a Jew that the Gemara says? What? Baishanim, Rachmanim, Goim Lechasadim. Yeah? These are the 3 traits that show you that a Jew in his natural or her natural state appreciates another person. Let's say Rahman is last. So Gemilach Chasadim, I'm helping you out, yeah? What about Baishanim? That we're embarrassed. People who aren't embarrassed are people who don't believe that other people exist. I should be embarrassed in front of you. If you're real to me, I'm not going to behave the only way that I would do whatever I want in front of you is if you're not really real to me. With me? So being embarrassed is an outgrowth of the fact that I recognize that another person is real. Embarrassment is like people think, you shouldn't be embarrassed in front of you. Az kanama, it says. Az kanama. Yeah? You should be, that means don't be embarrassed if somebody thinks of you when you're doing mitzvahs. Yeah, but when you're doing something wrong, yeah, if you're not embarrassed, you're right. You shouldn't be embarrassed when you're doing something right because that person's wrong. The person's wrong for thinking that you're doing mitzvahs is wrong. Yeah, that person's wrong, so you don't need to pay attention to them. But for you to be able to do something disgusting in public and not feel any kind of to not feel any embarrassment, that's a corrupt person. You know what I mean? A healthy person who appreciates that you're a real Metzias would feel embarrassed by doing something not Beseder in front of you. So that's another expression of the fact that we appreciate people. And Rahmanas is you have Rahmanas on somebody who's not. You can only have Rahmanas on someone who needs Rahmanas. I don't need to have Rahmanas on you. It's when the person is doing bad stuff or he's in a bad way or etc. etc. Rahmanas means you penetrate to the person. That's what Rahmanas is. You with me? That's how you have Rahmanas, and that's what marriage is all about. Yeah, because Cole's mind, you're connected to the fact that she's so great and she's so lovely and kind and this and that, yeah? Well, you're going to see times, by definition, that she's not like that, yeah? So having Rahmanas means trying to touch the person, trying to get connected to the person, and that will put everything into perspective. That was the eighth of chapter 32.
You cannot content someone's corridor.
Sorry?
You cannot hate someone's corridor.
You can't hate their corridor.
What?
Yeah, you can, for sure you can.
Right, so that's...
You can't hate them.
We can't hate them, but that you can say that the bad within them is not them, right?
That's the point.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not them, but rather it's the corridor.
But then we say
you can contact. You can.
Well, that's what Rahmanas is. Rahmanas means, you know what Rahmanas, yeah? Rahmanas means becoming cognizant of the palace.
Just ignoring the bad, which is
Well,
the
not that
corridor.
you ignore it. You have to be careful. Like if the corridor's full of like snakes and scorpions, then you have to take. If you don't need to go through that corridor, yeah, and it's full of snakes and scorpions, don't go through that corridor. Yeah, either cut that person off. But doesn't mean that you're not. You understand?
Right.
You're concentrating. You're completely fixated on the palace. So like you're right. The wallpaper's not very nice, and it's a bit smelly and damp, and there's some rust and some mold, etc. But I'm completely focused on the palace. You with me?
Right, but the hate that the Rebbe talks about, that you're meant to have for a person who's wrong.
It's not for them, it's for Sitra Achra. That's the hate. That we're meant to also hate Sitra Achra. Meaning that we're meant to understand that Sitra Achra is a means to an end. It's not an end unto
Sitra
itself.
Achra isn't the palace.
Sitra Achra is
Palace-
not
the
the
palace is
no.
100% clean,
The palace is
beautiful
the
vessel.
Sitra Achra is the walls of the palace. The person is the one in the palace. And that this is beautiful because it goes straight into chapter 33, 33, which is where the Rebbe brings in, I never even look at it, I don't know why they're in front of me, they just do something, I absorb them somehow, that the palace, the Dira B'Tachtoinim, isn't referring to the walls of the home. The Dira B'Tachtoinim is referring to the relationship between the man and the wife. It's not called the Panimia Tachtoinim. It's not the dorm. It's not called the dorm in the lower worlds. It's called the Dira, the house. It means the house. It's a bias. That's why the Torah begins with a base. Yeah, it's the relationship within that. With me, that's what the Dira B'Tachtoinim is. The fact is that the walls of the house get elevated also, but only because there's a marriage. This is referring to the Yichud of Kudsha B'Chor Shchintei. Just the Chabad way of saying it is Dira B'Tachtoinim. The Arizal way of saying it is Yichud of Kudsha B'Chor Shchintei. It's the same. It's the exact same thing. But the Dira B'Tachtoinim gives an extra. It gives you more information in a sense. It also loses information. It gives you the information of the fact that the actual walls of the house are also going up. The Yichud of Kudsha B'Chor Shchintei could make you feel very arrogant about being Jewish because, well, what are the Umas Oilam about then? It's all about me having a relationship with God. So, lucky guys. Yeah, whereas you realise that it's about bringing it's about bringing the table, bringing the walls, the windows, the lights, the whole thing back up, yeah? You're right, the relationship takes place. You're the woman makes the house. The woman's connected to the house, yeah? The man is connected to, call it money, he's connected to things more ruchni, yeah? But it's through the connection of the man to the woman that the whole house, all the children and all the clay, all of the kalim of the house, everything goes back up. The whole thing comes, and that is the introduction of Dira B'Tachtoinim. So what is it, after having said all this, yeah? What allows for Hashem to feel comfortable in this world? We kind of said it all in. What?
When we do good, when we do Torah mitzvahs.
Yeah, absolutely. Why?
Because that's what he wants.
That's what he wants. Biduk. I couldn't say it any better than that. That's what he wants. You ever been to... You're from Australia, so I'm sure it's happened by you, yeah? When I grew up as a kid in England, in America probably less, yeah? In Israel, no way. Where you have a friend whose mother doesn't let you wear shoes in the house. And then they've got the special room that you're not allowed in, yeah?
Well, you have Russians in Israel. Russians,
The Israeli mentality doesn't allow for that. But there's always, everyone's got that friend where they had what's it called?
House with floors.
No, or they have the carpet and then they have like the plastic thing on the carpet, to get to the kitchen. I've seen that, And or you have to take your shoes off when you come in, and don't. If you want something, ask me. I'll bring it to you. Thank you. Don't help yourself. Yeah. What's happening? It's a very deep idea. What's actually happening is that when someone comes into your house and you're like, whatever you want, take what you want, do what you want, feel at home. What?
Make yourself at home.
Make yourself at home means that it's about you, whatever you want. I'm here to serve you, but you help yourself as well. Yeah, that's called feeling comfortable. What that means is that I've humbled myself to you. That antsy woman, yeah, your friend's mum, who was really annoying, yeah, she's not humbling herself to you, Bechal. She's letting you in her house, but on her conditions, according to what she wants. So there's no, you understand? That's called not a dir b'tachtonim. Meaning even like, forget being an atheist, which in many ways I think is actually a big step up. But that's a different discussion. But forget being an atheist, being somebody who, being a godly person, a God-fearing person, or somebody who wants, like Olam Haba, he wants the goodies that he can get from God. Yeah. Well, again, that's God is not. He's not what it's about. You with me?
Who's not what it's about?
God, the Rebbeinu Shalom, is not what it's about. No, if a person is involved in if their avodah is for ulterior motives, for honor or for money or for it could be much more subtle things, even for Olam Haba maybe. If depending on your definition of Olam Haba, if it's a place you go to afterwards where there's a lot of pleasure, then that's the same thing basically.
Really?
What?
Saying that's considered an ulterior motive. Olam Haba, if your definition of Olam Haba is what you call an Islamic version of Olam Haba.
Absolutely.
So in a sense, it's an avodah zarah.
Well, it's not really avodah zarah. You're the avodah zarah. You're just serving yourself. In yourself, you've become the point. Avodah zarah
that's so much of Yiddishkeit.
Hopefully not.
Today,
I know. Yeah. Hopefully not.
But it is.
Okay, so we have to work that out. The first thing to do is work it out in ourselves. Is become more and more selfless. That's the whole thing is about just getting over yourself, getting over your own pleasure, so that you can actually appreciate other people's pleasure, and that's really what it's about. Is providing pleasure for other people. That's how you get over your pleasure, especially when the other person's pleasure is at expense of your pleasure, like when your wife asks for the shaitel, the $3,000 shaitel, and you know that you've got a bunch of other much better things to spend $3,000 on, plus her shaitel's fine, Well, that's real relationships takes place in that moment. When you see that it's really, if it's something that really will give her pleasure, and you can put your pleasure aside, meaning a more full bank account, and give her that pleasure, you just took a quantum leap into her and a quantum leap out of yourself. And the boy show is sitting there cheering and clapping and etc.
It's possible to use these motivations, whether it's Olam Haba or something else, as a conduit towards ideal Torah Lishma.
Exactly what we said before. Like we said, you marry a woman for things about her, right, and the avodah of marriage is getting through that. Exactly. So exactly the point. That's why the Rambam says that the kids begin with nuts and candies and etc. And then you start getting new clothes and turn to be a Talmud Chacham. But this is the point. There has to be a transition from that to avodah lishma.
There has to at least be that in the foresight.
There has to be that we're trying to move. The teacher has to be trying to move the child out of himself. When the person says, lishma, avodah lishma, that's for the old generations. Halavai, you would care about Gan Eden, Well, they've just stolen from you the relationship, It's pachad. It's tragic. That's tragic. Those words, halavai, we would be scared of getting. Like we could do so much more. We could if we learned about these ideas. These are the most natural ideas. I've given over these ideas, and I remember when I first started teaching, I was giving a share at a kollel near my area, and it was mainstream-ish, but it was not mainstream enough that the Rosh Kollel would let them have a Tanya share, So it wasn't that mainstream, but they were good. They were good FFB guys, come from good kosher families who, and they're learning. And it's basically a regular kollel with a little bit of twists here and there. Yeah? Eventually, they had to kick me out. But, yeah.
Too much truth the problem, or
The Rosh Hashiva got so angry at me under that. Like, I decided I was actually moving on anyway. In fact, the reason why I moved on is because of this year here. Actually, it was on Thursday morning, and then so I said I'm leaving, and then that day he was like, fine, no problem. And then that day he got so angry at me, it was crazy. He's screaming at me in the base midrash. Anyway, that was a side point. The point was, what I was trying to say is, when I started giving over these ideas, I had a whole bunch of people sitting at the table, but there were lots of people like kind of with their Gemoras in the back who were listening to the shir, yeah. And I came home to my wife like after the first day or second day of I was giving the shir, and I described it to her as like watching deer drinking water for the first time. It was such. I'm not trying to be arrogant about this. I'm just saying that these ideas of selfless avoida, which we don't get so often, yeah, if ever, for the Jewish soul is mamash. It's mayim chayim, mamash. You need it. You need it in our generation. We're so sick of ourselves. We're so sick of our pleasure. You know, it doesn't. The guy's saying me, you know what kind of reward you're going to get for this Olam Haba? And you're like trying to imagine like that. You're like, I just don't really. It's not about the more pleasure. It's I don't really care anymore about that thing that gets the pleasure. So give me more and more pleasure. I'm kind of overdosed on pleasure. I don't really care anymore. When you hear, wow, it's not about you. The Jewish soul is like I said, it was like drinking water for the first time. But then you know what happened? This happened not a dozen times, but maybe half a dozen times, is I got connected to these guys and I was giving over this thing, and it's such a different message to what's being given over mainstream, like you were saying. They would like, for the first 1, 2, 3 times, be completely, like connected, and then after the shir, they'd be walking me back and talking to me, asking questions, etc., yeah? And then I'd come back the next week and they wouldn't talk to me. They would literally ignore me. I'd say hi, and they would ignore me. It happened a bunch of times. These guys, they're the yeshivish guys. They're some are little. There's no difference between Hasidim and Litvaks in our world. There's no. Remember, the fight was between the Hasidim and the Misnagdim, not between the Hasidim and the Litvaks. Bichlal. I know a lot of Litvaks who are very Hasidish. I know a lot of Hasidim who are very Misnagdim. I'm just saying it's not to do with, for all intents and purposes, the difference between everybody holds by the Ramchal's idea of or how they understand the Ramchal of you can't do anything from God. It's all about Olam Haba. That's basically just people look a little different. Yeah, maybe learn a little bit differently, but there's no real difference. Yeah. The differences are very, very skinty.
What happened during that week?
What
happened during that week that
they had?
It was too. I mean, look, I don't know. They wouldn't talk to me, so I couldn't have a conversation with them anymore. But the way it happened with a bunch of different people, mamash, and I just felt it was too. It was too
frontal.
It was too threatening, because it's really the opposite of what we've been learning. If you've taken to heart what I've just said, yeah, and your point of view this is going to Olam Haba, then Hashem is just your. I don't want to say the word that springs to mind, but it's not a nice word. Yeah, He's just there to help you out. If there was a quicker, easier way of getting to Olam Haba, I'll take that. So He's made this system. I have to do 10 mitzvahs. You can't do anything for Him because He's infinite. You can't do anything for Him, so He's just a big rock in the sky. Yeah. So what is it about? It's about my pleasure, as we read from the Ramchal. So no, I don't think he actually said that bichlal, but that's the Pashat reading of it. So it's all about me because, well, what can you do for Him? You can't do anything for Him. He's God. Yeah. He's complete, finished, done, b'shleimus, 100%. So it's by definition about me. Well, now He becomes attached. He's just an attachment now that I have to make pleasant. I have to kind of appease Him so that I can get my pleasure. That's a complete hishafchus of Yiddishkeit. That's called religion. That is what Islam is. Islam is you do the right thing, yeah, you go to Gan Eden, you're going to be in paradise, and you think that they all think that you're going to get 72 virgins, yeah, you think that that's what they think. Some of them are very sophisticated people. They're understanding in chakras and different, different ruchniyas in yanim, yeah? Believe me, a lot of them also think there's Gashmis there as well, but a lot of them don't think that. How different is that? It's infinite spiritual pleasure. It's called 70 Virgins. Great.
That's all we can relate to it down here.
Yeah, I'm just saying, don't think that these people are so proud. I mean, a lot of them are, but don't think that all of them just think it's just a bunch of hot women. Yeah? They don't think that at all. So what's the difference between us and them? Oh, we've got the truth. They haven't. We're doing mitzvahs. Don't know what they're doing. No! It's the exact opposite. What we're doing is the opposite of Islam. Literally the opposite. And that's why I feel that it's Islam that Hashem has sent against us in our generation.
Islam is about death and we're about life.
What?
Islam is about death.
That's a nice, very clever way of saying what we've just been saying for the past hour and a half. But the one religion that's ever been, you realise, Islam is the only religion. I'm afraid because I teach so much on Zoom, I'm worried when I put my finger up. Yeah, it registers me as putting my hand up. So I'm very conscious of that. So I really I can do it as much as I like. I can sit like this and like this. So
Body chassid.
yeah. So wait a minute. That was funny. I just got distracted. But Islam is the only religion in the history of the world that we can hang out in one of their places. I can't go into a church. I can't go into a Hindu temple. I can't do... And Islam on the pshat looks like the closest thing to Yiddishkeit.
You can even pray in there.
What?
You can even pray there.
You could pray with them?
In the
You could pray in a mosque. It's completely acceptable. Absolutely. Halachically, it's... Okay, but I mean, Lamaisa, if when you understand it, but really, the way I understand it is that I feel it's like this. It goes like this. It goes Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, atheism. Yeah. It's on tape as well, so don't take this out of context. Maybe people will. No one listens anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you've got Islam, which is for sure the closest thing to Yiddishkeit, apparently, and then Christianity is further, and then Hinduism is already Avodah Zarah, as they say, and then atheism is just off the spectrum. Yeah, I think I'll be Panemius. What?
What about Buddhism?
What?
Buddhism,
that's probably after Hinduism. You could make it whatever. Either way, it's maybe atheism.
A lot of stuff in Buddhism that's very similar to Hasidus.
100%. But wait, but there's nothing more. There's nothing more Hasidish than saying God is no thing.
Yeah,
that's the most Hasidish thing you could ever say. God is no thing. What do the atheists say?
There is no God.
They say God is nothing. He's no thing.
No, that's not what they say. They say God is a figment of our creation.
You're missing one. Yeah, you're missing one. Meaning they have said he's not. That is a really good foundation. That's a good foundation. That is the foundation that Avram built Yiddishkeit on. That is a good foundation to build Yiddishkeit on. God is no thing. No thing. Absolutely no thing. You have no... He's not some kind of spirit. He's not some kind of infinite power. He's no thing. That's like, so on the Panemius, it goes down, to the atheism. In that, again, I'm joking. It's all tongue in cheek. I'm not. A lot of people are atheists are really hedonists, but I'm just trying to get the point across. Yeah, that Islam is the furthest thing from what Yiddishkeit is. It's the furthest thing. It's the ultimate level of self-service, where I'll give my life up for myself. I will kill myself for myself. How much more selfish does it get? That's the ultimate level of selfishness. En masse, 7th of October, I will kill myself for myself. That's so... And we look at that and we're like, that's terrible, disgusting, yeah? But then we learn, smothering, killing yourself. For what?
And
See, this is the thing. Once you're in a real...
Buddhism is I will give myself for myself.
Well, once you're in a real relationship with your wife, you're saying you'll give yourself for yourself.
In Buddhism, I give myself for myself.
I don't know. I don't know enough about
the
business
idea.
to have any kind of
Interesting.
opinion on it. But 1 minute. What was I going to say?
Judaism.
Islam is the furthest away.
One moment. Yeah, when, yeah. See, we think that a tzaddik, ask somebody who's a tzaddik, yeah, and they'll say so and so why. He gets up crazy hour in the morning, he goes to bed late. You see every minute of his day, he's just learning, he's just Torah and mitzvahs, just that's, yeah. Tremendous energy and power, yeah. And he could be a tzaddik, maybe he is. But that isn't why he's a tzaddik. He's a tzaddik because his agenda has been completely nullified to God's agenda. That's what makes you a tzaddik. I have no personal agenda. I'm here to serve you. Now, if I get that deep into my head, that is going to manifest as an impressive service. I'm going to be cutting down my sleep. I'm going to be cutting down my food. I'm going to be maximizing every single second I've got. I'm going to be involved in Torah and mitzvahs as much as I can, but not as some kind of self-help thing that I'm going to be becoming. I'm not building myself. I couldn't care less about myself. So you can have a guy who's working really hard in Yiddishkeit, but take him out of Yiddishkeit and stick him in another society. He'd be working really hard in that society as well. The tzaddik is the man who has become so cognizant of reality that now he's really investing himself in serving. You with me? So
Judaism is like give myself for God.
Give myself for God. That's the point. So the you go in so different directions. But that's the point. Is that Yiddishkeit is about serving God. It's about service of God. Now, if you paint Hashem as a being that is unservable, you're only left with one other option to serve, and that's yourself. And that's the dismantling of the religion of Yiddishkeit. That's the final creeper that we need to break is religion. Religion. That's what I believe, again, just my thoughts, is why we are being confronted now by Islam. It's never been like that before. We were confronted by every other power in the world. But a monotheistic,
Amalek, their gate.
What?
You have Amalek at their gate. We know Amalek is in Ishmael. We know it.
Well, Amalek is always going to be the force that destroys Israel, or tries to destroy Israel. Okay. But we see that
because
Islam...
all the Arabs here are here by chance. They're here because this is descendants of Amalek. And the Plishtim and all of these people.
Either way, but the garment that it's all dressed in is a monotheistic religion.
So,
and that's an important point. And a religion where people are prepared to give their lives up for it, yeah? That's not what we are. That's not what Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael stands for the opposite of that.
So what picture do they paint Allah in? That
Who?
Makes it,
What picture?
I'm saying, you said don't paint Hashem in a way that makes you unable to serve Him, right? Because then you'll end up serving yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So in what way
You said that really well, yeah.
So in what way does Islam paint Allah that makes him unservable?
Well, they just like we paint him. This being that's, when we say shleimus, yeah, this is the whole, we got back to the whole thing again. This is why Rav Manis is Rav Manis Friedman is constantly saying, I don't always agree with the way he says it, it's very confrontational, how Hashem is vulnerable. I would never use that word for Hashem, yeah, but he does use that word, yeah, although I've seen him stop using that word recently. But that he has a need called Soich Gavoya, meaning that this is his project. It's not about me going to Gan Eden. It is Gan Eden. You do go to Gan Eden. Great. That's a side benefit. Just like if I get to clean the Belzer Rebbe's car, yeah, and they're going to give me $300 for it, yeah. That's not what it's about. I get to clean the Belzer Rebbe's car, I'd pay for that schus. The fact that you're going to give me some money as well, okay, thank you, I appreciate that, but that's what it's about. So we have to realize that there's what's called Soich Gavoya, which means that it's his project. It's Hashem's project. and we're helping out. That's called the Tzaref Esabrius, means that we can become part of that project. So is it about me? No, it's about helping out the Rebbeinu Shalom. He wants this world to be mamash fixed up. So how do I do that? Well, these hands need to get fixed up. Yeah, so I suppose I have to hold a siddur. Yeah, use them to wrap tefillin, because that's part of the plan. Yeah, the body needs to get fixed up. So I'll go to the mikveh, I'll put on a talis, I'll sit in the sukkah. Yeah, the concept of marriage needs to get raised up. So I'll marry and then I have to have children. That's part of the mitzvah. It's all about it's like, Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm here for you. Tell me what you need from me, and I'll do it. What about he turns around one day and says, you know what, guys, I've been thinking about this. There's a revelation. He says, you know what, I've discontinued the concept of Gan Eden and Gehenna. No longer exists. I still want my thing done, yeah? I want my project's the same, yeah? But there's no consequences. There's no schar onish. Yeah, you don't go to Gan Eden if you do good. You don't, what?
3/4 of Judaism would check out.
Let's see what happens. See if you're really in it, yeah, and you hear that revelation. And that is, by the way, that's the story. Remember the story of Sudas Mashiach by Chabad? They have the Sudas Mashiach and Motzi Pesach. What's the story they tell? The Baal Shem Tov of the Or Chaim HaKodesh, yeah? What's the story? What's the real point of the story? It's sometimes glossed over. Whatever the story, but without getting to the whole story, I don't even remember the whole thing. The most important to remember is that the Baal Shem Tov gave away his Olam Haba. And he said, yes, Baruch Hashem. No more Olam Haba. Now I can taka, now I can serve. Now it's about service. I'm not getting anything from this. You're serious? There's no benefit for me at all.
Wow. I'm free.
Chazak v'yamatz. Now we're going to show them. This is the Avodah Lishma. You hear that? But so that's the question. Let's say we take away Gehenna and Gan Eden, and if you say to me, I'm taking away Gehenna and Gan Eden right now, I don't care about Gehenna and Gehenna anyway. I don't even believe. I don't know what they are. I've got no kesher. I don't know what Gehenna is. I don't know what Gan Eden is. I don't care about pleasure. I'm addicted to certain pleasures, but I don't care about pleasure. It doesn't motivate me. So I'm like. That's how it should be. You want to know where you're holding your Yiddishkeit, your relationship with your wife, your relationship with Hashem, and your relationship with anyone. Is take away all the schar and oinesh, and now say what's left. And that's why we'll finish on this one last point: is the ultimate relationship, the ultimate selfless relationship in Tanya is described as the son to the father. I learned in Eshet Torah that the parent loves the child much more. It makes a lot of sense to me. But the Tanya describes the ultimate relationship as the son to the father. Why? It's not talking about the child. It's not talking about the young child. It's talking about the mature man or woman who has to nurse their parent to death in the end of their life. Nothing to gain. When you're raising children, yeah, there's a lot to gain. I want my kids to be geschmack. That you can't separate yourself from the schar, because when your kids do good, that's great. You love it. It's lovely. That's called nachas. Yeah, but when a person has the avodah of nursing their parent in the last, and that's why I spoke about my friend Margaret with her husband Yehuda. That's the relationship. Margaret, what are you going to have to show for this 3 years of total dedication to this man? Nothing. There's the relationship. Wow. That should bring you to tears. That's the relationship. You with me? Okay. Chazak v'yamatz.
Thank you for sharing.